And the third session or segment would be on the speed training event, followed by feedback and survey. Okay. So next, I would like to invite Lata and to talk about Shooting Star Foundation mission and give us an introduction. Well, it's Shooting Star is not we're all exposed to what Shooting Star Foundation is, but we would like to have a little more of a recap on what is the mission about this foundation, and give us some pointers about Shooting Star. Lata?
Yeah, thanks, Meena. Hi, everybody. This is Lata Narayanan. I'm the CEO of Shooting Stars Foundation. I would have talked with most of you, or some of you at least. So basically, Shooting Stars Foundation is a nonprofit that was founded in the US and is now operating in India and Africa. Our mission is to
foundation and give us some pointers about.
Sorry about that. I think there is a. Hi everybody. This is Lata Narayanan. I'm the CEO of Shooting Let me go stop the. Okay, there you go. So basically, Shooting Stars Foundation is a nonprofit that is on STEM education. So we sponsor college students for engineering and medical in India and Africa, and we provide STEM education in the US. This hackathon is part of STEM education, STEM advocacy kind of project. On the right-hand side, you see a number of STEM educational programs that is provided in the US for underserved communities. So that's how we expand the STEM education across the world. So our main motto is educate, empower, enable. We firmly believe that STEM education really changes the life for many people, and that is what we aim to do. So yeah, back to you, Meena.
Thanks, Lata. Next, let's talk about what is Cyberthon. Well, Cyberthon is a common term used for cybersecurity. Our day-to-day lives are governed by cybersecurity, and everything that we do nowadays, from communication to infrastructure to transaction, is encompassed so-called digital metaverse. Almost every single person uses a certain aspect of this digital data in their daily routine. And in order to make sure that all data in this digital world is secured, maintains its integrity, and cannot be modified, we call upon cybersecurity practices. The art of ensuring our data is secured in this digital metaverse is called cybersecurity. Throughout today's session, we will be creating an intense collaborative environment. Our industry speakers are here to give us guided mentorship. And in this session, you will have an opportunity to win prizes, meet new people, and interview for internship. I truly hope that today's session you can take this opportunity, get more information around cybersecurity, and make a career out of it, or use it in your daily life. Our first segment is about coaching on the cybersecurity concepts. In this segment, we will learn about fundamental cybersecurity concepts. We will discuss, have access about cybersecurity resources, and prepare for the hackathon. This segment will be led by Aryan, who is an BTSA engineer at GS Associate. And he is a cybersecurity enthusiast, plays a key role. He believes cybersecurity plays a key role in our future world towards the right to privacy. He's really passionate about privacy-focused solution and creating widespread awareness for the same. So without further ado, let me call upon Aryan to lead the next session. Aryan?
Yep. Thanks a lot, Meena. So good morning or good evening, guys and girls. So today's agenda for the cybersecurity coaching will involve a basic overview of what comprises of cybersecurity, a basic definition, the different attack vectors, and and in how many ways one can get infected by hackers, how we can protect ourselves from those attack surfaces, where to start as a cybersecurity enthusiast, some hands-on experiences, and what is our future in cybersecurity, and some additional resources for the same. So I think we can jump to the next slide. Yep, next slide, please.
It's stuck. No, why?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm trying. I'm sorry.
I mean, Aryan, do you want to drive?
Sure.
Oh, it's here.
I can chat with you.
Okay.
So I think it's better you drive. I thought you were going to drive. So let me chat you the link so you can drive it. It's easier. Yeah. But go ahead and speak, please. I'll drive it and then you can take it.
Sure, definitely. So yeah,
you can talk to it this way. Yeah.
so what is cybersecurity, right? Cybersecurity is basically a process and techniques through which one can get involved in protecting sensitive data, right? Data such as personal identifiable information. It could be your age, your date of birth, your gender, your address, right? Right, so such kind of data, which is usually stored in computer systems, networks, and software applications from a wide range of cyber attacks, right? So hackers are constantly trying to gain access to these informations, and we, as cybersecurity enthusiasts, basically try to uh, protect these resources. So the cybersecurity attacks are general technology that covers a wide range of topics. So let's say your data is getting tempered, right? You have that data can be exploited to gain access to a wide range of resources, right? Uh, let's say you want to target a specific person who has a huge amount of leverage. Let's say he's in a very big role in government or in your organization, right? So any such activity or any such thing which we can gain via the mediums of a cybersecurity attack vector, yeah, that can be basically compared to cybersecurity. So I think we can jump to the next slide.
Aryan, I have shared the slide with you. Do you want to share? Can you? That way it's just easier. You can stop sharing, Meena. And then if you click on...
Yeah, I got the link. Yep.
Yeah, you can click on the link and then do share. You should be able to share.
Yep.
Meena, you can stop sharing, please.
One second.
Yeah, do you think you can slideshow, go to slideshow mode, please? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Aryan?
Can you hear us?
Aryan, are you there? No, you're not audible, Aryan. saying it's not allowing him to unmute. Okay, let me see.
Maybe we can unmute everybody.
I only have a choice to mute. I don't have a choice to unmute. Can you try now, Aryan? I don't know. Or
you want to try reconnecting quickly?
okay, yeah. Can you log out and log in back, Aryan? So Zoom is not foolproof, huh? So even Zoom has issues. Okay. Everybody, please give him a few minutes, a couple of minutes. He should be back. So by the way, definitely stay on for the cybersecurity panel.
Hello.
It's
Hello.
yeah. Hi, Aryan. Yeah.
Hi.
We can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was grayed out for me. I was
Okay.
not able to unmute. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll share the screen. 1 second.
And then after the cybersecurity panel, we have the speed teaming event. So if you haven't formed your teams yet, definitely stay on for that event. Okay, go ahead, Aryan.
I think as soon as I share it, it actually mutes me. And now I found it.
Ah, really? Okay.
Yeah, okay. And now I'm able to see it?
Yes, we're able to see your screen now. Yes.
Okay, yeah. I changed some more. Okay.
Go ahead.
Sure. So I think I'll be starting with the DOS attack and the DDoS attack and how do they differ. So the DOS attack is basically, it stands for the denial of service. The denial of service involves basically a server, and what happens is that server is bombarded with spam requests from various from the hacker, and due to that spam request, the server gets overloaded, and the server is not able to identify legitimate requests from spam requests, and due to that, they are not able to perform any kind of operation. These kind of DOS attacks can be actually nullified by getting resources to services such as Cloudflare, which provide the DDoS protection. They basically identify that if the requests are spam or are they legitimate. DDoS attack differs from the DOS attack in that term that usually DDoS stands for distributed. I'm hearing echo. Sorry.
Yeah, Abhi, can you mute if anybody is talking? Yeah. We'll go. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. So DDoS is basically distributed denial of service, and what happens is the attack pattern is same. There's the same spam of requests that will be proceeding to the server. What happens is, though, instead of owning all those computers or all those botnets, distributed denial of service involves a botnet basically. So those botnets basically comprise of malicious computers which are infected by malware. So those malware computers, which could be of genuine people who are not actually trying to attack or trying to trying to do a DOS attack to the server, are made to send those requests, and in that way, it basically comprises of a botnet, which then sends a spam of request to that server. Coming to the MITM attacks, MITM stands for man in the middle attack. So man in the middle usually basically it's what happens is let's say two parties are having a conversation on the internet. So let's take it as server client architecture, right? And what man in the middle does is he tries to eavesdrop on the data which is being sent from the client to the server, and what he tries to do is he gets access to that data, and either he wants to leverage that information which is being sent from the client to the server, or he changes that information so that it seems as if that client is sending that data to the server, but it's not. It's actually the person who actually changes the request in between the connection and then sends the data what he wants. So it could be that you have leveraged and opened your Amazon account and you wanted to buy something, but due to a man-in-the-middle attack, he will basically change the address, and he could basically change the location and create a request for him himself, or he could basically gain access to your information on and on. So yeah, it's basically a part of a larger piece mostly, but yeah, it's an attack vector which is pretty common in the system. Moving on to phishing attacks. Phishing attacks usually involve a link which is shared uh, to the client, and it's a link which which will contain the link to a spoofed website. So it will seem as if the site is legitimate, and you will have those same username and the same user interface and the username and password fields which you will find on your normal social media website or a shopping website. But instead of sending those requests to the actual server, it will be sent to the hacker itself, and he will have direct information to your username and all the credentials which you will be logging into. So uh, one way to mitigate those attacks is usually it will be coming from a unverified source or from a botnet. So these kind of attacks are usually pretty easily identifiable, and just by some general like by common sense we can get the wave of it. Okay, this might be coming from an unverified source, and we should not click from it. Moving on to ransomware attacks. So these kind of attacks usually target corporations and uh, big, uh, big MNCs, and what they usually do is, on a widespread, they exploit a vulnerability into the system, and once they have identified that vulnerability, uh, they basically lock the lock all the accesses to the system and create and basically encrypt all the data inside the system, and sends up a pop-up message. Okay, please send this amount of money to us, and we will decrypt all of your data. And if you won't send this amount of money to all of to that desired uh, PTC location, usually they use cryptocurrencies, because it's hard to track, and basically it's you can't actually track back though. You can get a idea of who owns that address, but in the physical world you won't be able to track, okay, who is the owner of this Bitcoin address. So what they will try is they will actually lock all the data in the entire system, and they will ask for money, and there is no guarantee that uh, the hacker will actually decrypt all the data once they have received money. So usually their choice of attack surfaces will be big MNCs and corporations. A famous example for this is the WannaCry ransomware incident, which infected 40 million plus people, and also also affected FedEx, Nissan, and the NHS in UK. So yeah, it was a big incident in the news too. Moving on to the password attacks. So password attacks is also a big puzzle of piece. It involves a variety of different attacks inside. It's an umbrella term actually. So password attacks include brute force attacks, uh, in which the hacker will try to derive your password by gaining access to your personally identified information by anyhow. Let's say he knows your birthday, he knows your age, or he knows your gender, your name, right? And what he will try to do is he will basically try to do a combination of these things, because people have a habit of usually creating a password around these factors, around your mother, father, address, birthday, dog name, and basically we'll put it inside a list and uh, create a variation of these uh, combinations, and try to basically brute force your password. Moving on to the second thing, password attacks can also be from the MITM, as I said, uh, man in the middle, which I already explained. So he could basically just access that information when you are sending it from the client to the server. Just get that password in clear text and not in encrypted form, and use that to get all your credentials. Another type of attack, which is called dictionary attack involves a rainbow list. So rainbow list is basically a list of commonly used passwords, and it's constantly updating, and there are variation of these rainbow lists which are available on the internet. And what it has, it's basically like a big list of commonly used passwords across the internet. It could be a very big list, around 700,000 or 7 million, something like this range of passwords. And what they will try to do is just iterate through all those passwords. And basically, those people who have a habit of like doing the common passwords such as 12345 000 password as password, right? Or hello 123, right? Mm, those kind of things usually aren't best practices, and they can be actually broken through dictionary attacks. Let's move on to the next one, which is SQL injection attack. So SQL injection attack usually involves uh, it's usually targeted on database-driven websites or applications. And what happens here is, let's say you have a database-driven website, such as Facebook or such as Google, right? And these websites usually have an input field where you could do a query or where you could get insight to the system via that field. So what here we will do is we will basically put an SQL query inside the input field, and instead of returning all uh, the relevant results, it will return me the result of that SQL query in the form of a table, uh, which could be disastrous for that organization or for the corporation. So this kind of SQL injection attacks are not that much prevalent unless and until it's a part of a bigger piece. And yeah, these are mostly patched as soon as they are noticed, unless it's managed by a newbie organization. So moving on to the next one, DNS spoofing. So DNS spoofing involves something such as, let's say you have a client, the client sends a request. So the client sends a request, okay, I want to go to google.com, right? And actually the system doesn't understand what is google.com. What it understands is a series of string in the numbers of IP addresses. So IP addresses is how the system is able to understand, okay, I have to go to google.com. It doesn't identify google.com as such. So what happens here is, there's a component in this puzzle which is known as DNS servers. So what DNS servers do is, DNS servers basically change that google.com to, let's say, 10.1.1.1, which is the IP address for google.com. What happens here is the hackers gain access to this DNS server, and what they will try to do is they will change the redirection of google.com from the actual IP address of google.com. Let's say the actual IP address of google.com is 10.1.1.1. They will change it to something of a spoofed website, a website which they have created on their own, right? And they will redirect your request to this spoofed website. So now you will be putting in the credentials of your request, rather than putting it on google.com, you will be putting it onto the spoof website, and now they will have access to all your information and credentials. So DNS spoofing can and must be mitigated by using DNS services which are of reputable organizations. Some of them involved OpenDNS, Cloudflare, and Google themselves. So Google have their own DNS service, which are pretty popular DNS services. Moving on to the next one, malware. So malware is also a pretty big umbrella term for a variety of things. Malware comprises of Trojan horses. So Trojan horses are something in which a legitimate software, let's say I have Microsoft PowerPoint. That Microsoft PowerPoint, you will try to install it, but that Microsoft PowerPoint is also bundled. That Microsoft PowerPoint will also be bundled with an illegitimate piece of code, which will act as a like a malware, basically. So what will happen is, it will do all the functions, and it will have all the functionalities of PowerPoint, but also in addition to that, it will be doing all those things which the hacker has basically coded into that solution. So let's say he has coded a reversal, which will basically what it will do is it will get uh, get the hacker the access uh, to all the permissions, and it will basically he'll be able to get access to your computer. So if he basically adds a reversal to your Microsoft PowerPoint bundle, he will be able to get access to the solution, and he will be able to do normal operations as such you do from your computer, and hence will have remote access to your system. So one piece of puzzle is Trojan horse. Another piece of puzzle is viruses, which is basically what will happen is we have identified a vulnerability in a piece of software, and what happens is they will try to exploit that piece of vulnerability by uh, uh, getting access uh, to the software. So let's take the example of Log4j, a pretty big example. It's a Java vulnerability right now, which basically devastated the whole industry right now. And the hacker will basically try to gain access to a software by uh, exploiting on this vulnerability. And yeah, all those systems which were running on Java were pretty bad affected with this Log4j vulnerability, because it's a pretty big part of the solution. Logging is done by Log4j, and a lot of Java applications do perform logging. It's a crucial part of any coding principle. So yeah, uh, viruses basically exploit vulnerabilities. Let's move on to the next part of the attack vector, social engineering. So social engineering, rather being more of a technical approach, it's more of a psychological or a very like a human-based interaction approach. So what the hacker would try to do is get actually acquainted to you, get acquainted to your habits, get acquainted. Let's say he may try to eavesdrop on you in real life, or just get acquainted to with your personal habits. Let's say he may try to see through your passwords, or what he will do is he may see, okay, you are using the same password, or you may actually tell him that, okay, I have a lazy habit, or okay, I'll just use the same password in a normal conversation, and you might not think, okay, this is something which he might be able to leverage. But yeah, social engineering basically involves human interaction through which one can gain access to your credentials. So yeah, that's the end of the attack vectors in cybersecurity. There are some more attack vectors, and definitely there's an endless list, but these are the preliminary ones which one should know before going into cybersecurity. Yeah. So knowing all these attack vectors, what can we as end users or cybersecurity enthusiasts do to protect ourselves? So there are various ways through which we can basically protect ourselves from the attack vectors. One way, which basically is used by all of the solution providing companies, is encryption. So what happens here is any kind of data which is pretty secret and should not be into the hands of the hacker is basically encrypted. Hello. 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 Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you, Aryan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so one part of the big solution is encryption. So what happens in encryption is the data, which let's say it's in plain text, is converted into ciphertext. And what we mean by plain text is it's something which is recognizable for us humans. So let's say the password for us is soccer@123, right? And we can identify it. It will be converted into a bunch of unrecognizable strings. Let's say A, K, F, G, H, and something, a bunch of random keywords, which one cannot use as password or one cannot identify as username unless and until it's again converted back to plain text, right? So we want plain text as credentials, and they will be stored as ciphertext. So ciphertext. So the way it works is there is a key involved, and it's a lock key situation basically. My bad, sorry. And what happens here is the lock is our algorithm, and that lock and the key is basically it's a string of password which we manually input, and that string of letters or numerals can be re-entered to basically convert that plain text into ciphertext and ciphertext into plain text. So when we want to store it, we can basically store it as ciphertext, and that cannot be reused. And when we again want to use it to basically enter into a website, that could be stored as we could enter the we could enter the password for it, and then it converts itself back into plain text, and then we could reuse it. Encryption is also a big term, and it involves two types. There's one which is called symmetric encryption, in which the key, the part of the puzzle which I'm saying, right? So when I'm saying I'm converting it from plain text to ciphertext, right? It's the same key which will be used for converting it from ciphertext to plain text. So there's only one key, and you can reuse it to convert it from cipher to plain and plain to cipher. In asymmetric encryption, what happens is there's one key which is used for converting it from plain text to ciphertext, and there's another key which is used to convert it from ciphertext to plain text. And usually asymmetric keys are used for let's say I'm broadcasting an information and you want to verify it. So what I can do is I can put a public key on an internet forum and have the private key with me, and through the private key I can basically encrypt that data, and through the public key the people can verify, okay, this message which is coming from him is actually verified because it gets decrypted via this key. So yeah, this way asymmetric encryption can be used to verify messages from a sender, and this is a basis of OpenPGP, which is a very well-known way through which people basically verify if the sender is basically verified. Another way is hashing. So one of the best practices in the industry is we never save passwords in a database in plain text, because that's a disaster recipe. What happens is if you save data like passwords or usernames in plain text, if the hacker gets access to your database, he can basically see through all of them and know, okay, so these all your passwords. He can basically store all of them and get away with everything. So what happens is instead of saving them as plain text, they pass the password to a hash function. And what hash function does is it's kind of similar to encryption, in which you put in your data and it converts it to ciphertext. But now here there is no key. There's no key. It's a one-way operation, right? It's a one-way operation in which you only can convert it from plain text to ciphertext. Now what happens is there's a one-to-one match. So anytime the user again enters the data, instead of comparing it to the original text, right? So let's say if my password was soccer@123, right? Now it will compare it to the hashed version of the data, which could be a random letter or string. But due to the nature of hash function, always what happens is it always produces the same output. So now the same input will always have the same output, but you cannot get back from output to input, right? So that's the part of hashing. Moving on to reducing threat privilege.
Hey, Aryan, hi, this is Lata. Yeah, so great. Yeah, just wanted to quickly remind everybody to stay on for the security panel at 8 at another 15 minutes. And Aryan, yeah, if people want to learn more about what they have to learn, people may be more interested, since we have about 10-12 minutes. You can quickly go through this and go to the part where you can tell them how exactly to find more information and learn hands-on.
Sure.
Okay.
So yeah, I think
Thank you. Yep.
Yes. So reducing threat privileges basically involves that we should not, as a best practice, we should never have admin roles for our daily use things. So always create new roles in which you don't give admin access to your system or to your software, so that even if the hacker gets access to your computer, he won't have the admin privileges, and he won't be able to do all the operations a normal person would usually do. Right. Isolation and compartmentalization. So isolation and compartmentalization usually involves that you store your data in separate ways, and you always give the necessary accesses and privileges to the necessary software. So if your software only needs, if it's a, let's say it's a camera, it only needs access to your camera, right? If it's a camera application, it only needs access to your camera. So let's not give it application to your location, right? And if it's only, let's say, Microsoft PowerPoint, so let's only give it your permission to your data, to access your data, rather than not give it for your microphone and not give it for your location, because it doesn't need that. So yeah, create isolation, create compartmentalization, create boundaries through which, let's say, if you store your work data, it should be a separate compartment. If it's your private data, it should be a separate compartment. So yeah, if the hacker gets access to your work data or your work compartment, your private data will still be secure. Uh, firewalls is basically compartmentalization and isolation, but for network things. So let's say you have ports on your computer, right, and your system, and some of the ports are usually not using. So let's say a port number 3306, which is usually used for MySQL. You are not using MySQL, right? So why have it open? Because a hacker might be able to leverage it for getting access to your computer. So anything which you are not using, let's say, yeah, you can basically block it out and create a barrier for self through which you can be secure. Password managers is also one of the best practices. So it's very hard to remember a very complicated password. So basically, if you have a very complicated password which involves brackets and lowercase and uppercase letters, right, it's very hard to remember that. And then you have a best practice that you should always create a different password for a different website or for a different location, right? So you can store all these different passwords in your password manager, and now you have to remember a single password for your password manager. And then from this password manager, you can basically have different password for a different website, and you will be securing yourselves in the way that, let's say tomorrow your Gmail account gets hacked, you will be secure that your Facebook or your Instagram or your let's say Snapchat is not getting hacked. Then a zero trust model basically involves, it encompasses all of these best practices in which you don't blatantly believe in the system, and you basically challenge yourselves and your mentality. Okay, is this something which can be leveraged against me, and is this something which it is not needed by the system, which is not needed by the server? Why is it asking this information? So just like reassessing all of your knowledge and all of your ideologies, it's a part of the zero trust policy. And yeah, moving on to where to start. And so you want to get acquainted and getting a career in cybersecurity. What should you do? Get acquainted with one programming language. I personally have put in Python here because it's a very well encompassed. You can do all of the things with this one language. If you learn Python, it does everything from web scraping to data analysis to, let's say, creating a website of your own and then analyzing code and creating 0-day exploits. Everything can be done by Python. So yeah, Python does have some boundaries, but as a starter, it's one of the best languages which you can learn, and it's very easy to learn also. Get acquainted with the basics of computer networking. How does computer networks work? What are ports? What is the OSI model? How does computer architecture work? What is the end? How does let's say the end-to-end computer connection work? Right, all the layers of computer of the computer network, computer architecture, you should get acquainted with. Learn about web fundamentals so you can have a sense of how a website works, and get started with Bash and Linux-based distros, because Bash and Shell are a pretty big puzzle which you'll be solving as soon as you go into cybersecurity. So start exploring different kinds of operating systems, Ubuntu, Pop OS, Fedora, Debian. Kali is mentioned here because Kali Linux usually has a lot of penetration testing tools, but it's not necessary. You can just use Ubuntu and then install any of the softwares which are already in Kali. So yeah, any of the Linux-based distros is a good starting point. Uh, yeah, and these are some of the hands-on projects for beginners which they can uh, basically go through and have once they have started the journey into the cybersecurity enthusiasts. So testing scriptions using various algorithms, keyloggers, image encryption, network traffic analyzer, password. Yeah. So yeah, basically you can go through this on your own. So I think Lata, you can take over.
Thanks, Aryan. Okay.
All these will be mailed to you. All these resources will be mailed to you. Yeah.
Yep, I'm stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aryan. Really, really helpful, especially to the people that have very little beginner knowledge or very little knowledge about cybersecurity. This has been really, really helpful. To all the participants, we will send you the deck that Aryan used and also the recording. So you'll have more information. Definitely look at the links, the resource links. So you have one more week to go ahead and practice. So definitely make use of this, and any questions you can put it in the chat, and as the thing proceeds, then we may be able to answer some of them. We actually have, I don't know, 7 more minutes before the panel. Any questions you could put on chat that Aryan will be able to answer?
I see
Yep.
Frank has raised the hand. Maybe if Frank has a question to ask.
Hello,
Hi, Frank.
I'm good. I have a question on encryption. I want to ask if we are entering, for example, our password, when we are logging into Facebook, I want to ask if the encryption is done after we enter the text, after the text enters the server or before.
So the encryption is basically end-to-end. So as soon as you will enter your password, right, that password won't be encrypted. That password will be hashed and will be stored into the system. But when that password is traveling from your client to the server, right, that password will
Yeah.
be encrypted, right? So during that connection, that password will be encrypted. But as soon as that password reaches a server, it will then be hashed and then be checked again in that what's inside the server, like the hashed version of a password. And once that verification is done, you will be able to log into your system.
All right. So just after you enter your password, and then
Yes.
the encryption is done, is when the encryption is done. So that means the code for the encryption is stored on the web system, the algorithm for the encryption
Yes.
is on the website, on the algorithm is stored in the website.
So yeah, it's served on the web server. But yeah, and what happens is that algorithm is basically a function, and what it does is it basically encrypts all of your data while traveling. So only while
All
traveling.
right. Okay, thank you. I get it now.
Yeah.
Anybody else with any other questions?
Yeah, I think going one by one. I think first question is by Pratik. He's saying, is it SHA 256 a hashing or encryption? It's a hashing function basically, so you can use it for hashing. Another question I think is from Neeraj. I think how hashing is irreversible. So I think it's a very mathematical question basically. You can learn how hashing is irreversible because you can't. So there are some functions which are bad hashing functions through which one can actually backtrack. Right? He can backtrack uh, the hash to a password, right? Just by like brute forcing, right? But those are bad hashing functions. So there are like SHA1 or is a very bad hashing function. MD5 is a very bad hashing function, which should not be used. It resulted in Zomato leaking all of their credentials. So yeah, password managers are secure. Basically, it depends upon which password manager you're using. But yeah, you should back check anything. Exactly, like it's basically a zero trust policy. If you are basically installing a password manager, you should get into, okay, what are the reviews in the community, and is it a good one or a bad one? How hashing is irreversible, I think you can look into it. It's a very mathematical solution, so I won't be able to give a very deep insight into it. But yeah, it's a irreversible solution. If the algorithm is good, it's a irreversible solution. Can you tell us about bug hunting, like what frameworks or what kind of system are needed for it? So bug hunting is a very later part of a thing, where once you have actually gotten the knowledge of how operating system works, how system design works in such, right? You will be able to identify, okay, there are some normal pieces of the puzzle which are already like major identifiers, right? Like SQL injection is a bug hunting, right? If I'm able to do a SQL injection attack on a website, that could be a part of bug hunting. But usually these kind of bug hunting programs are no longer like these small things are no longer like viable. Usually bug hunting involves a lot of experience. You need to get acquainted to system design, to various parts of like data structures, right? And know, okay, yeah, it's a very later part of the puzzle. So I think, yeah, you should get acquainted with programming first and learn the basics of algorithms, data structures, and yeah, before going into bug hunting or anything like that. Just get a deep understanding of how computer system works, basically DSA, operating systems, computer networks. Yeah, so all these are a part of the puzzle, which will enable you to identify bugs. The spoofing, are the spoofing access the storing data? Can you clear that question for me, Dharawat? I'm not able to understand it. Uh, can you maybe type it again?
Or maybe you can come off mute and ask your question live. We have just a couple of minutes left before we move to the next segment.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. I will ask later.
Aryan, there's one more question.
Yeah. I'm not able to see. Is there another question? I'm not able.
Dilroy, between you.
I think he is basically recommending it. Caleb is basically recommending. Maybe Vault Warden is one of the. Vault Warden is a password manager, and yeah, I think it's a conversation, not a question, I guess.
Okay.
So I think
I think we can take the questions offline as well. If you have any questions, please do send it in chat, and you will get answers later through the session. Okay. So we have just a couple of minutes left before we move to the next segment. Lata, do we want to take just 1 minute break, or do we want to directly jump into the segment?
We need a 1 minute break, sir.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, take it. We'll just start exactly in 1 minute. In the meanwhile, can I request all the panelists to rename their name on the Zoom and add panelists in front of their name? Thank you. And Jim, are you there? Jim Fraser?
Yes, I am.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
And I'm labeled as moderator. Is that all right?
Yeah, can you try to see if you can?
Yes, yes, that should be okay. Jim, you're the moderator, and then the others can name themselves as panelists.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're doing the Q&As right in the chat panel, correct?
Correct. So let's see. I see Michael. I see Rositza. Randy. Yeah. Randy, can you please rename yourself to panelist? And if you can come on video, please. Thank you. Rename panelist dash Randy. Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay.
Let's see who else. Krishnan, is Krishnan there?
I'm here later.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay, everybody, we can get started. So we'll now dive into segment 2, which is cybersecurity panel. And this segment is led by James Frazier from NetScout. So James, do you want to take it from here? Share your screen, or do you want me to share?
Oh, I don't have anything to share. I'm just gonna kind of handle it. I'll speak to everything today. So
you can stop sharing then, Meena. Yep.
Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to the Cyber Hackathon. We're excited to have everyone here today, and I'm going to be moderating today's panel. And the way that we're going to run the agenda today is we're going to start off by introducing all of our panelists. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the state of cybersecurity in the world today and what we're seeing there. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what the path of everyone that is on the panel today, how they found their way into cybersecurity. And then we're going to turn it over to the career outlook for cybersecurity, which I think is probably the most important thing for most of the folks here today. And then we'll finish by talking a little bit about the future, where we see things headed, and then a little bit of Q&A. And I want to make sure we want to make this very interactive. And so I'm going to be monitoring the chat panel. And if you have questions, we'll try to address those as we go along. But then we'll also have a Q&A at the end for you as well. So I'm going to start off with our introductions. Today, I'm going to start with myself. My name's Jim Frazier. I'm the regional director for NetScout. I have a sales team that covers the enterprise here in Northern California. And I've been in this industry for close to 35 years and have worked for companies like Oracle Corporation and working with partners like IBM and other companies, really calling on and bringing solutions to IT professionals to help them in the war against cyber criminals. So that's my background, and I'm going to jump over. I'll kind of do it as to who I see on the screen here. But Krishnan, if you could introduce yourself and give your background.
No, thank you, Jim. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Very nice to meet you all. Krishnan Chalakrai. I'm the CISO at Gilead Sciences. Gilead is actually a biotech pharmaceutical company. We actually make antiviral drugs in HIV and virology and oncology spaces as well. Prior to Gilead, I was with Roche Genentech for 9 years, been in Stanford Hospital as well. So that's my day job. In addition to that, I also have a nonprofit organization which is called Next Gen Cyber Talent. So I'm the founder and chairman of that as well, which is to provide a platform for all of you who was interested to get into cyber, where you can get trained and in real life technology products like NetScout and stuff, right? So then you can get placed in the job as well. So that's the goal of that nonprofit as well.
Fantastic. Rositza?
Yes. Hi, good day, everyone.
So I work as a product manager at NetScout, specifically building solutions for network security. And it's a new segment that had started about 2 years ago, a new market segment called network detection and response. Initially, I started my studies as a computer engineering some time ago. Then I've worked into different types of computer enterprise networks, service provider networks. And a few years ago, security became more and more important into the operations business for enterprises and service providers. I've took a new role into building solutions for enterprise and service provider security. It has been an exciting journey. So I'm glad to be sharing some of that with you today.
Fantastic. And then Randy.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. My name is Randy Souza. I'm the Director of Product Management at Neustar Security Services, covering application security. Been there about 6 months or so. Before that, I was with Akamai Technologies for quite a bit of time. Helped build out the enterprise security business. And before that, a lot of WAN optimization. Before that, I was involved in several different venture accelerators, helped a few different startups in the technology sector get funding, and some are now valued pretty highly, which is a great story. Before that, I was with EMC Corporation, now part of Dell Technologies, and so on. And before that, I did a bunch of startups, which were very interesting. I learned a lot from them. We'll see how it goes. From an educational point of view, my background originally was in computer science, and then I did sort of an MBA focusing on entrepreneurship and innovation and so on. So glad to hear whatever, and converse with everyone. Looking forward to the conversation.
Michael?
Yes, thank you, Jim, and hello to everyone. So my name is Michael Segal. I'm the Area Vice President of Strategic Alliances here at NetScout. And my responsibility include alliance strategy, partnership development, customer advocacy. So at this point in time, you may be asking yourself, what does it have to do with security? Well, quite a lot, right? So just to give you an example, most recently, for example, one of the alliances that we created is with AWS. So we integrated NetScout Omni Cyber Intelligence product with the AWS Security Hub to facilitate a very comprehensive hybrid cloud security. This is just one of the examples of how security can be leveraged for strategic alliances. In terms of my background prior to NetScout, which I've been doing for the last 8 years, and you may have heard that NetScout or not, that NetScout mission is to become and empower our customers become the guardians of the connected world. So I think it should resonate well with everyone who is aspiring to become a security professional. And prior to NetScout, I spent a couple of decades working in a variety of management and senior management roles in both engineering, product management, marketing, in companies such as Cisco Systems and others. In terms of my educational background, I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in Electrical Engineering from Technion Israel Institute of Technology, cum laude, and an MBA degree. I hold a couple of patents in areas of networking and wireless mobility. And I also have a Certified Information System Security certification, CISSP, from ISC. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. So the first topic we're going to discuss with the panel today is really the state of the industry, the cybersecurity. And I wanted to share a couple of statistics with the group here, to kick things off and so that everybody, I think, can understand, the magnitude and why we're here today. But the Identity Theft Research Center they reported in this last year in 2001 a record number of data compromises in the United States, about they amount to about a 68% increase over the previous year, just to give you a feel for what we're seeing. And I think the team is going to talk a little bit about that. And then as it relates to the cost of a data breach, a global study that IBM sponsored recently said that the cost of a data breach in the last year rose from 3.86 million to 4.24 million. So when you think about the effect of that and on the folks on the line and why we're here and doing what we do, you can imagine. And I think everybody that's here today is thinking about careers in this area. You can see the problem and what we're up against. I'm going to hand it over to our panelists to talk a little bit about what they're seeing, some of the breaches we've seen, and you know what we're really seeing around the industry and what's going on here. So, Krishnan, I'll let you kind of kick things off.
Sure, definitely, Jim. I think cybersecurity is it's not a news to anybody, right? It's like it's getting important every day, not only in the corporate life, it's also important in a personal life. As an end user, as a consumer that we interact with, in this digital world, like iPhones and iPads and cloud and social media, social apps and stuff that we interact with. A lot of our own information about ourselves is out there as well. So in addition to that, the corporate world is also facing a lot of challenges as well. Cybersecurity has been like the top risks for most companies, if you look at it, and being board level discussions for everybody, right? So I think in comparison to that, it's not like a technology trend that's going to come and go away. Some trends may change, and we'll be morphing towards cybersecurity, data privacy, compliance requirements are all going to stay. And we also have a lot of 3.5 million jobs available. We have a big talent shortage as well. So it's like bringing in new talent, bringing in diverse perspective talents, right, into cybersecurity is an important aspect too. So it's like a traditional people, process, technology challenges that needs to come together and kind of solve the cyber concerns that we have. I don't want to specifically talk about any specific incidents. We all deal with it. In addition to trying to protect what's available for the company, we also need to take care of ourselves on mental health, and we all need to. It's a stressful job as well for some of security professionals. So we just need to always balance that. So bringing in new talents and kind of having the second level, third level support for each of the roles that we have in the organization is always important too. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to jump over and let the other folks on the line just talk a little bit about what they've seen kind of in their area. Rosita?
Yeah, just trying to kind of add on to what Krishna said. It's a challenging job. It's really it's very demanding because I see cybersecurity teams being the new superheroes. The fights now, the wars are really in the cyberspace with the digital transformation, which is, again, it's not a trend. It will continue, and we'll see more and more businesses and environment going all in digital, as well as a lot of that was accelerated to some extent by the pandemic we live in over the last 2 years, where we had to actually move a lot of them communications and a lot of the businesses in the digital world and do a lot of the things remotely. So the cybersecurity teams jobs become very challenging in times, as Jim, you said, 68% increase in the risks and attacks, which is pretty much, if you are in the security operations team, your job increased like 1.5 times, and it's going to continue to increase over time. And you have these, bad actors that constantly looking for vulnerabilities and looking for ways to exploit, informations and put the businesses at risk. But at the same time, it's very rewarding, being able to actually work in that area and being able to identify the risks, identify the threats, and protect the organization. It's becoming more and more important. And this is something that, companies like ours, we're focusing into building solutions that will help the security teams, but it takes a lot of, again, a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills, not only technical skills, but in some cases, more like social engineering skills as well. So there is a lot of potential, and everybody who is interested into growing into that area can find an environment that suits them to their best abilities and best skills, whether it's technical or even legal or compliance. There's variety of fields in cybersecurity.
Thank you. Andy, what are you seeing out there?
Oh dear. Well, many things. I mean, to complement what my distinguished panelists, Krishna and Ruzitsa had just mentioned, for me, it comes down to two other elements in addition to what they just shared. There's the educational aspect of it, and then there's the quote unquote proactivity and reactivity that is security. From my observations, and this goes back a number of years, which was only emphasized by the pandemic and the outcomes that it had for everyone around the world. Part of it was, for me, is now instilling the concepts of security into everyday life. And that is where even your average individual who may not know that much about technology is being forced to understand the attributes about what it means to be quote unquote secure, right? We all interface with some sort of digital property these days, right? Certainly the folks who are joining us here today, but many others throughout the world, is whether you're in an emerging economy, you're in a global complex economy, what have you. So for me, a lot of it is just saying, all right, I understand that there are challenges, there are bad actors, as just mentioned, and I need to put that in my everyday life, right? So I think that that's going to be part of it, and it's now ingrained in a lot of places, meaning that it's not, oh, I should do this because quote unquote, it's risk management from a board perspective. No. It's just part of doing business. It's part of your IT infrastructure. I do feel that that's just going to be where things go from now for a variety of reasons, right? The other piece that I would add on there is, an old chief security officer of mine had, coined, well, he probably stole it from someone else, but he told me about a little story about, maybe others of you have heard this, and that security comes down to silicon and carbon. Anybody familiar with that? Right. So silicon means you have some sort of compute process. You have a machine that does things, whatever it might be. It might be endpoint security. It might be network security. Heck, it might be, application security and a variety of other things. Right. So it takes in ones and zeros. It may make a decision on those ones and zeros. And I think a lot of you know that. The next piece is the carbon. That equals humans. And this goes back to my earlier point where I think a lot of where this comes from in the education, where a lot of you can do very well for the next couple decades, is saying, okay, there's only so much the compute process can do, right? And at that point, there is a human element into all of this, right? Ruzitsa just mentioned about you have bad actors, you have people who are using social engineering, and this is only going to get more sophisticated. All of you have grown up likely with technology, and you understand this better than even previous generations. So that's where the educational aspect is going to come into play in concert with any technology we develop. And that's only going to get more involved in the world we live in. It's how we meter it and how we understand it as a society. I could wax poetic on this for a long time, but to thoroughly answer your question, at a high level, that's what I've seen.
Michael?
Yeah, thank you, Jim. So I actually want to talk about additional aspect that is on my mind, and I want to share with you. So according to 2022 KPMG survey, senior risk executives found that 62% of companies in the Americans experienced data breach or cyber incident in 2021. So think about it, 62% of the companies experience something. And then think about the average time of 287 days that it takes to identify a data breach, according to IBM. And then another 80 days, also according to IBM, to contain the breach. So this is mind-boggling, and some of the most outstanding hacks that you have seen have been dormant for an extended period of time. I want to mention just a couple of things here, right? So you may have heard of the SolarWinds breach, in which a very popular SolarWinds platform called Orion that 33,000 customers are using was infiltrated by a rogue agent, and a backdoor was established, which enabled hackers, right, basically to install additional malware and spy on companies and organizations that are using the Orion system. And one of them was the FireEye, right? So if you think about what is called the kill chain, and this is a terminology that is taken from the military, right? If you think about the reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, and actions on objectives. So think about the time that dormant open doors are exist in a variety of 60+% of customers. So this is definitely mind-boggling, and I think that you know, whenever you actually design defense in depth, right, which is comprised of different layers of security, right, you need to think holistically about things such as physical access control, then logical and technical controls, and then administrative access controls, which are the different policies and procedures defined by organizations, right? So need to think holistically about the security, need to think the impact of those dormant malware that is lurking in the system. And just one other piece of advice, obviously, many of you may know that there is a common vulnerability and exposures, CVE dictionary that is being maintained by Mitm. So definitely I would suggest that you review it and stay current with all those CVEs.
Thank you. And, you know, I know from my front end, I had my teams working with a lot of companies, our customers this last year. The two main things that they reached out or security teams were dealing with, spending a lot of their time, were the Log4j exploitation, and it's a 0-day. If you guys want to look that up, it's probably some good education. You can look up and see the types of things that folks are battling. And as Michael said, I think it was called Sunburst was the hack that occurred around the SolarWinds. But those were both really big incidents that we were helping the security teams of a lot of organizations deal with throughout the last 12 months. So those are good things to kind of take a look at, and you can kind of see where you might be involved in. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, and I'd like to have the panelists talk a little bit about their journey and how did they find themselves in the role they're in today, and made their way into the cyberspace. So Krishna, I'll start with you.
Sure, definitely, Jim. Yeah, so first of all, I started my journey as being an application developer. I'll date myself. We were been working on a Power Builder type applications. I know COBOL and BASIC and those type of stuff. And started using those type of applications, trying to build solutions for retail and hotel industry. That's where I started. So I had the pleasure of learning about application development and trying to build that. And then slowly I kind of got into working for financial industry, like banking and stuff. And then in some cases, insurance companies too. And then I started working into product companies, like using TIPCO solutions, like trying to build solutions for verticals like equity online or foreign exchange and stuff, right? That's where I got introduced into cybersecurity. So that was a challenge, and they wanted to make a foreign exchange transaction like a non-repudiation transactions to verify. So we had to integrate with PKI, like build a smart card type integration. So that got me into building security technologies into the product itself. And then I was so fascinated, and the passion grew. And then I stuck into cybersecurity since then. So, and then slowly grow myself into engineering and architecture. And then now I'm actually the CISO. So I think having the deep inroad into application development and all this stuff actually helped me to stay both not only at the eye level, trying to translate this business outcomes into strategic solutions, also trying to ground myself when problems actually happens as well. So that's my journey. And, cybersecurity is a fascinating and interesting field.
Great, thank you. It's nice to hear some programming languages that I remember. I started with some of those as well, and haven't taken up Python like my children have now, that are now in the work world and using that on day to day. It looks a lot tougher than when we started, right? Some of those languages. All right, Rositza, I'll let you talk to the group now.
Yes, as I said in the beginning, I started in, again, engineering, development services, and then switched to sales. Again, at one time, I was interested into expanding my, business knowledge. So I did my MBA, moved to sales, and then from there, moved to the product management, which is a very exciting area, into actually designing products to help the technology teams, the IT teams, the network operations teams, and security operations. And so working through NetScout and some of the previous companies that NetScout later acquired, we were developing solutions for network and service assurance for service provider customers, enterprise customers. And along with that, there were these emerging use cases around security. So security is really kind of an overlay, and it is becoming a bigger and important overlay across these different stacks. But the basic knowledge of, again, programming, networking, understanding of enterprise networks, service provider networks, that is a great foundation that you can use to actually then move into the cybersecurity area. And this is where, as I said, the use cases become increasing, requesting, functionality from our enterprise security operations teams, customers. I moved into developing products to help the security operations teams into their daily tasks. Again, looking into potential risks and threats and finding these events, which could be just a basic traffic anomaly that may just accidentally happen. But in a lot of cases, performance metrics from the network operations may be related to actually anomalous activities, so activities of bad actors that are trying to access assets and do reconnaissance, identify what are the different resources in the network, try to steal credentials. So this is how, as I said, I moved into developing these products. Been doing that for the last 3-4 years. It's been very, very exciting journey, as we always constantly are getting the challenges from the experience, on the attacks and risks, the latest attacks and risks that are seen in the field.
Great, thank you. Randy, how did you find your way into cybersecurity?
Oh, no idea. Yeah, so my story is a little bit different than what you just heard. So as I mentioned beforehand, I had studied computer science back in the day. And I thought that I was going to go into be like, all right, software development is something that's interesting, uses a lot of mathematics, which I had an interest in when I was younger, still do. And that's all well and good. And quite frankly, if I'm being honest, one of the original interests for me, especially at the time, this is going back, a couple decades, is that, like, look, it was a really lucrative business and you can make a nice living out of it, right? And it's stimulating, and that's just where the world is going, right? So I went down that path, finished up undergrad, and interestingly enough, right when I was finishing up, I'm like, not sure this is for me, but let's give it a try. So I went to a few startups, more around like the fintech-ish sector. So analyzing, things like balance sheets and automating their output, a lot of functionality that is, in common free mobile applications today. But back then you had to pay for it because no one had developed it, especially on BlackBerries at the time, if any of you remember those. So at that point, I learned a lot about that, some mobile development and so forth. But I realized that being a straight up engineer, not really that much of a match for me, just for my personality. Anyway, I switched things up. I went over to more of a data storage company, and maybe I thought maybe the content just wasn't up to snuff. So anyway, I for the first half of my time there, I had pursued more bug fixing and looking at why things failed, and the vast majority of that was in the sort of data archiving field, and then getting into the backup and recovery piece, which I found out is interesting, and that started introducing me into security. Some of the initial bits there, as learning about encryption, learning about at the time what secure socket layer actually meant, and figuring out how that microcode worked. Okay, so then the financial crisis hit, and the world went, kind of went on its head and so forth. So I was very cognizant of that. So I thought, all right, if that's the case, and I really want to be competitive for my career and remain stimulated, maybe I need to pivot a little bit. So that's when I started thinking about graduate school and things of that nature. Because at the time I was purely technical, and it was more of a reactive measure. Again, that's just for me personally. And so then, interestingly enough, I was on like the support call with a customer, and there was the sales manager that was on, and it turns out I have a little bit of a gift for gab. Maybe that comes across, I don't know. But that's where the guy's like, have you ever considered the role of pre-sales? So that's when I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. So they started introducing me. Lo and behold, 6 months, a year passed, and I converted over there into what a pre-sales role is. For those of you who aren't familiar with, that is more of you go more on the business side. You are in the sales organization, but you are still the technical liaison to your customers. So you work directly with customers, what are called channel partners. Receipts and mentions things like service providers that could be in there as well. That's where you start integrating with them directly, and you hear stories about, oh, okay, what are the biggest challenges these folks have? What are the biggest concerns? And all of a sudden, I started hearing more and more of a theme of like, oh yeah, security. We have these issues about our network. We need to figure out how that interoperates with this backup recovery thing, which I started learning about. So I took an interest there. And then I started learning more and more about the business side of technology. And I'm like, wait a minute, I really need to become a master here if I really want to advance my career. So like other panelists, I did the so-called MBA, which is interesting. Some people love it. Some people think it has less return on value. That's a different debate, which maybe we'll talk about later. That is something where I really was turned on to the world of entrepreneurship. So I met a lot of venture capitalists, met a lot of really successful tech entrepreneurs who said, look, you got to be the master of your own destiny. If you really are confident on your skill sets, let's take that in different directions. So anyway, so I did that, an executive style MBA program. And then I decided that I wanted to pursue other endeavors. So at first, worked with some other folks to start our own business. Didn't work out. We were doing a mobile app for like restaurants, not really in the security world, but had to understand the encryption model. So then a friend of mine called up and he's like, hey, join this company, Akamai. It's opening up this new business unit around WAN optimization and the enterprise stack. Okay, so this is where I really started getting into security, where it was more of an entrepreneurial role, right? So myself and a few other folks, we started a new business within a larger organization, something some of you may have an interest in. And at that point, that's where I learned a lot, right? About how you are able to work with certain types of engineers, field operatives, program management, in a variety of others, leadership, finance. and you really start to see how things tick. So I did that for a number of years, signed up partnership, worked with our friends at Cisco quite a bit, and learned that stack about, okay, not only how do you make things faster, go across the internet, but how do you make them secure from one end to another? Anyway, then fast forward to about 2016, right? So we ended up acquiring a company that was getting into what's called zero trust network access. And this was doing this way before a lot of other people use that buzzword, if I'm being frank, right? Especially when you're using it directly over the internet, not using the TCP stack, right? Without getting too technical. So anyway, so that's when we really started building up that business. I went into more of a leadership role, and that's when I started developing more product sets, right? So they ended up putting me in sort of what I'll call term as an evangelist role, right? Where you meet with a lot of CISOs, with a lot of, well, C-levels, decision makers from customers, partners, the world alike. And you're taking a lot of inferences there, and you understand how to build products, right? And that really gave me a foundation to focus on that actual GM aspect of things. So from there, we built out that stack. We acquired a couple more companies. We had a full trust model there. One term that some of you may use that was coined by the analyst Gartner is called SASE. You know, Forrester uses, I think it's SSE, whatever. That's a full-fledged stack around enterprise security for those of you who are interested. And that's where, you know, we started really building that out. Now, lo and behold, fast forward, that's when, you know, now that I'm focusing more on just actual building products, Neustar came around and said, look, we need someone to lead an initiative on our AppSec stack, right? So think about ways of interacting directly over the internet, certainly around public applications. We want to build that out both through product business development, which Michael probably has more stories about than I will share right now, as well as building actual products similar to what Rosita just shared. So that's where I lead up those efforts there, working with a variety of individuals and you know, interfacing with my substantial engineering team, right? So that's what I've been doing now. And throughout that path, I took in all these different stacks of security from a variety of different angles, right? And this ties back to my original discussion, thinking about network security, enterprise security, public applications, as well as a variety of other pieces that go into play. That's my story. It's not as, I kind of fell into it, if I'm being honest with you, but it really fit my needs, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And again, that's just where the world is going, and it's only going to build down on that. Back to you.
Thanks. Michael, give us a little bit about your path.
Yeah, so quickly, very quickly, but still going back to my college days. So unlike, I'm sure, many of you that have now specific training and educational paths to security profession, back in the day when I studied electrical engineering and computer science, there was nothing that is focused on security. Just kind of to date myself a little bit, Jim mentioned other languages, programming languages. So that was like the last year that I studied Pascal, and then we moved on to study C. So that was back in the day. And fast forwarding to the time when I actually started working as a product manager, and I spent 10 years in product management. So started working on product management of platforms for example, voice over IP. And back in the day, it was still some modems. So the silicon, the DSP had to process both voice over IP, which was evolving as a new technology, and different modems on the same silicon to make it more efficient. But then I became to manage a product that is called a mobile access router. This is back in at Cisco. And with the mobile access router, that was kind of an innovative project for Cisco that enabled to install a router in mobile environments, right? So it would, for example, like think about a police force, right? And installing in 5,000 cruisers a router in the back of a police cruiser and enabling it to roam in the city and seamlessly connect to different networks. There was 4.9 gigahertz bandwidth that was developed for public safety, for example. So they could seamlessly roam between Wi-Fi hotspots, between, I think at the time it was 2.5, 3G, moved to different 4.9 gigahertz coverage. And that's when the security aspect became so critical, right? So this is like a mission critical router that is communicating, and security is of paramount importance. So as I mentioned, after many, many years in different networking technologies and security associated with those networking technologies, so I decided, I have so much knowledge now, I want like to get certified. And that's when I also had like an MBA, but I'm not going to mention that enough about MBA. But then I started studying for the Certified Information System Security Professional certificate. And I definitely recommend people to have at least 5 years of experience before you study this. But I realized, as I mentioned before, that it's a very comprehensive area, right? So you need to understand the physical access controls, right? These are the items that you can physically touch. The mechanisms deployed to prevent, monitor, or detect direct contact with systems in the facility. Then the technical or logical access that involves hardware and software. And NetScout, for example, in terms of software, our call to fame is the most scalable deep packet inspection capability to inspect a lot of packets in real time and convert the metadata that we generate into actionable intelligence on cybersecurity and also performance of the applications that we monitor. And then also understand the administrative access controls, as I mentioned, the different policies and procedures, which are also very critical to understand organization security policy, regulation requirements, compliance with different industry regulations and things like that. So that's kind of my journey. And now, as I mentioned, at NetScout, I work very closely, for example, with Rositza, who is now doing the product management, and I'm doing the business development. And for example, I mentioned integration with AWS Security Hub. NetScout has also integrated, for example, with Palo Alto Networks platforms. They have Cortex SOAR, which is one platform. We integrated our DDoS appliances with both Sightline and Arbor Edge Defense. We are also integrated with Palo Alto Networks Panorama platform, which is their management platform for the next-gen firewalls. So our Omni Cyber Intelligence is integrated with that platform. So just to give you an example how the expertise in security is critical, from engineering, which is actually where I started, I skipped that, but engineering, then product management, and now business development.
All right. Thank you, Michael. And I would say, I think for those of you out there that are thinking about your career, and I'm seeing some good questions come in that we'll address here at the end, but you're going to find your way of what you like to do. I think everybody on the line here probably found that they got into new areas. You hear the different paths, and I know for myself, I always enjoyed helping and building solutions for people. And, in the sales arena, you get to work with customers every day and get to help them solve problems, right? And I really enjoyed that. So I gravitated towards that during my career. So now I'm going to shift gears once again and really talk about probably the item at hand for all the folks on the line. So I got a little background noise there. If you guys could mute on the background, mute your phones, that would be great. Okay. I think that we're now getting to the area where you're probably is a lot of interest from the folks on the line here, and that is, what is the career outlook for folks in the cybersecurity arena? And I looked up a quick statistic from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics that said for a security analyst, if everybody could mute the line, I think we're getting a lot of background noise there. Maybe our moderators can look and mute that. The job outlook for security analysts is that those positions are growing at about 33% per year, which is pretty amazing. I don't see that. I mean, that type of growth is incredible, right? And the mean pay for an entry-level security analyst is about $102,000 per year. So that should give you a feel right there what the type of positions that are open in the for folks coming out of college and looking to get into the security space. And I'll just kind of round robin it here. I'd love to have the group talk a little bit about who they're looking to hire, what type of positions, I see a lot of questions kind of coming in about what should people be studying, what should they look to, what areas of cybersecurity they might want to focus on. So Krishna, I'll let you kick things off in this space.
Absolutely, Jim. I'm also following the chat as well. So I think, it depends on where you're in the journey. If you're fresh out of college, you're just like, okay, I did computer science courses and I have my degree and I'm looking to explore into cyber, right? So then there are some cybersecurity foundational courses that you can take, which gives you kind of a very grounding yourself on what cybersecurity is, like, some of the kill chain and aspect on how that Michael talked about, right? So I think they'll give you, what is a problem statement and what are the areas that you can go, right? That gives you a foundation. And then you can get into different domains. And I know network security, cloud security, endpoint security, there's a lot of different domains that actually there. It depends on, do you want to be a security operations analyst? I know Randy talked about bug fixing. That's how he started his journey, right? So you can start as a security operations either on the technology side, where you take a specific technology and you operate and keep the lights on, and how does that solution actually helps a certain company. Or you can be in a security monitoring and incident response, where you're looking at logs and signals that's coming from different technologies and how somebody is actually sending a phishing email. What does the phishing email contain, right? So that is a job you can also start as a security operations. There are a lot of demand out there in a lot of the different areas. I think I know security operations, incident response is a big area that everybody is trying to get talent in. Also on the engineering side in network security and cloud security, I know Michael talked about how NetScout is integrating with AWS, right? There are AWS, Azure, GCP, cloud, and trying to build. Because of the pandemic, a lot of the companies are trying to move from on-prem applications and they're trying to move to the cloud, right? They're shifting to that cloud. So that requires a demand and having talent in cloud security as well, right? So you can take specific courses after you do a foundational into very specific domain level, right? You can do network security specific courses. Like you can take a Palo Alto, and in Palo Alto, they have a 7 series of courses that they can go, and you can try to get there as well. CompTIA, Security Plus, and CISSP, and those sort of foundations also good. It gives you the basics, and CEH, like a certified ethical hacker, right? And those kind of gives you as well. So it gives you to appreciate different ways that you can get into cyber, because we need talent everywhere, right? And I think it's more to what interests you. And if you have some good networking background, network security may be your area. If you have a very good, strong infrastructure background, like servers and databases and all of that, then maybe cloud security is an aspect to look at, right? Or you may be like saying, I always have this curiosity and I have this human intellect and trying to see why humans are doing certain things. And if you go down that path, insider threat and all the different aspects, risk management, right, is an aspect that you can get into as well. There are a lot of different areas that you can pivot. Unfortunately, I know this is a big challenge. There isn't one site that tells you if you start here, you'll end up here, and this is a job that you can have, right? It's not out there. It's about how you network with people, how you talk to people, and now you understand, and then having a good mentor, if you can, I think they can pivot and help you pivot that as well. Hopefully that gives
Perfect.
you a little bit of an idea, Jim.
I see one question came in about CompTIA security certificate for entry-level cybersecurity engineers. Do you have any familiarity with that, or they're asking if you would recommend that?
I would recommend that. That also helps people get there. I know CISSP gives you 10 different domains that you can get into, like privacy and legal and different aspects, so that you can see how each one of them are interconnected, right? But then CompTIA and specific courses gets a little deeper into cybersecurity itself, right? I would highly encourage, it's the Next Gen Cyber Talent, which is a nonprofit, is to bring those courses for free of cost for you to take, right? And we work with technology companies like Palo Alto, Fortinet, and NetScout and others who offer their training materials and certifications directly for you. So I'll put the link on the chat for you, and you should definitely take a look when you have a chance.
Awesome. Any of the other panelists want to talk a little bit about jobs and what they're seeing in their organizations? I see Randy.
Yeah. I mean, Christian did a wonderful job giving an overview. I firmly agree with a lot of what he said. In addition, a lot of it comes down to what we're really your interest in. For me, from what I've observed, where I've seen folks successful and passionate, it comes down to, okay, where do you genuinely have interest there, right? And that might be as high level as being technical, being a mix, or being more on the business side. I'll get into that later. From a technical point of view, I firmly believe when it comes to security, understanding a lot of those attributes is key, right? We talked about a lot of certifications. Those can definitely help you out. If you really want to get good at those, and especially if you want to be a quality practitioner, I do recommend you understand things like microcode and cryptography. And the reason being is those things are always going to get more sophisticated, and you'll understand why things fail or why breaches happen better based upon vulnerabilities within a network stack, an operating system, whatever. Right, those are things that can definitely help you out. I saw that firsthand, right? So I firmly believe that. If any of you do have a coding background, threat research is a really interesting one, because that can be sort of a hybrid option. So Rosita mentioned this early on in the conversation, which I firmly believe about. The world is changing because where you have attacks are often going to be not just vanilla, oh, I'm going to attack your operating system and so forth. A lot of it has to do with the social engineering, right? And understanding where that builds out. So the reason why I thought threat research was really cool, I met many friends and engineers in Israel, in India, and Estonia who had these whole programs that doctored like, look, here's thinking outside the box and using sort of soft skills, or for lack of a better way of putting it, right brain skills, and mixing that with how things like cryptography work, and where you can get past a human, right? So I think that that's something that's really interesting for threat research. We talked about security operations. That's another gig. I think I saw in the chat, someone asked about cloud security, networks and so forth. One thing I do want to emphasize to all of you, the cloud, you're using someone else's compute, you're using their CPU and memory. That's what it means. It's where, go back to the year, was it 2007, when that really started to take off? That's what you end up doing. So understanding the fundamentals, whether it is using your own on-premise hardware, or in Amazon, Alibaba, Google Compute, obviously Azure, etc. Right? Linode. Those are things that are going to take you farther. If you're looking purely to get your foot in the door from a job perspective, that's where the market is going. Can't stress that enough. So if you have certifications on working with things like Amazon or Azure, those can take you far in understanding the security aspects of them that complement those environments are going to also take you far. Again, that's just 20, 30 years ago, understanding how a data center worked and the network stack. That's where people gravitated towards. You still have to know that, but now applying it towards these infrastructure platforms as a service can also help you out quite a bit. Lastly, the thing I'll call out is if you want to do something that's a little bit more advanced, I've talked to a lot of younger people about it. What influenced me personally, once you get 5 to 10 years under your belt from a technical perspective, sales engineering role is a really, really trusted advisor role. The reason being is when you start talking with, say, customers or people beyond your organization, you start really understanding A, the vocabulary, B, how to communicate in a way that people are going to understand, regardless of what industry you're in. And then C, it is something that it's a role that if you're a security individual and you're working with a partner, say like NetScout, they're going to trust you more and want to work with you to build out solutions for them. This is something that they can't build internally. That's another interesting one that I've seen come across. There are many other angles. I'm just giving you a few that I've seen where I see are going to be real emphasized over the next, say, 5 to 10 years.
Perfect. Hey, Michael, someone had asked, it's kind of right in your space of what you're working in the middle, but they're an AWS certified solutions architect, and they were asking you to expand a little bit on the security hub and how how does that fit in if they want to go into cybersecurity, but they're already an AWS certified architect.
Right. So in terms of cloud security, right, there is a concept called shared responsibility, right, with the cloud provider and AWS in this case, right? So AWS is responsible for the security of the infrastructure, right? We spoke about physical security. And if you have heard of a breach in AWS, that was actually related to physical security. An internal person had physical access to a server. So that's AWS responsibility. But the enterprise responsibility, who is running workloads in AWS, is to assure the security of those workloads and applications, right? So there is a critical responsibility that lies with the enterprise to assure their security. Now, AWS is offering many different security mechanisms, and also they have a marketplace in which ISV partners such as NetScout can publish their solutions. So NetScout has published in AWS marketplace solutions associated with application performance management and cybersecurity. And this is the product called Omni Cyber Intelligence that I mentioned before. Now, what Omni Cyber Intelligence does, and Rositza is actually the product manager, director of product management for the OCI product, right? So, but what it does, it actually takes as an input both metadata of curated IOCs, indicators of compromise based on analysis of 1/3 of the global internet traffic. It can take other inputs from standard interfaces such as Stix, Taxi, and then it complements this with a metadata that is generated by NetScout probes that actually analyze packets. I mentioned highly scalable deep packet inspection. So this is done in real time and analyzed at scale. So now we have a very holistic visibility into both indicators of compromise that traverse the internet, combined with analysis of different vulnerabilities, right? Because we look into the packet, right? So we see if there are weak ciphers being used, if there are expired certificates. So we have like very, very deep visibility now into the entire threat surface associated with the specific application. So Security Hub is essentially, you can think of it as a SIEM platform, right? Security, information, and event management platform into which different partners integrate and send their findings. So once we identify within OCI that is now running in AWS, let's say it monitors a specific traffic, east-west and north-south traffic in a VPC in AWS, identifies an IOC or a threat, and then sends it to the security hub where it's being prioritized, it's being, the context associated with this specific event is being added, and you can actually then review it in Security Hub with all the other input that you get from other partners and also from other AWS security platforms. You can triage, analyze it, and drill back into the NetScout Omnis Cyber Intelligence for additional context. One of the things that I'll, if we have time, I'll mention is the ability to do forensic analysis and the importance of doing forensic analysis, especially once you know that it takes 6 months to discover and 80 days to resolve. So you need to be able to go back in time and analyze where the security breach started. And NetScout, because we look at the packet and we actually store those packets, it's the only tool that is available out there that enables you, or I shouldn't say the only, but the predominant tool that enables you out there to look back in time and analyze what has actually happened, how the threat, or where it originated, how it propagated, etc. So that's our integration with Security Hub. And for you specifically, if you have an AWS certificate, see also what are the security certificates that are more specific to security, and AWS has those certificates. Over time, it doesn't need to happen like any fundamental certificate with AWS that you have is very valuable, but keep on learning, keep on growing. Also just from personal perspective, right? So my son is a software engineer at Google, and my daughter, she actually studied informatics and cybersecurity. And now she is working full-time in a fintech company in cybersecurity, and also doing a master's degree in NYU in cybersecurity, right? So, this is kind of one thing I would recommend if, like, for students that are more advanced and going to finish their bachelor's degree soon, to look at those master cybersecurity programs that are available out there. I think that fundamentally, networking is key. Look at classes on Coursera. If you want to take CCNA from Cisco, I think it's, even though it's vendor specific, but it's very valuable. And last maybe thing to mention is ethical hacking, if you're interested in the red team. So you can do a certified ethical hacker that provides you in-depth understanding of ethical hacking phases, various attack vectors, etc. So I would definitely recommend to look into this as well, if this interests you.
Thanks, Michael. So actually, Michael, you already started us off on our last segment. Thank you. We're going to go around real quick to the rest of the folks and just give the last two. We're coming up, but we're already past our time here, but we're going to just have folks just say, what they see from the future, and just a couple of tidbits, their recommendations for the folks on the line. So I'll go back through. Randy, if you could give us your last words of advice for the folks on the line here, and we'll make our way around the horn.
Yeah, sure thing. So I can't remember who said it recently. Maybe it was Shlomo Kramer, someone like that. Look, a lot of this comes down to diligence, where just being very aware and up to date on challenges of the world. Doesn't even have to be security related, because ultimately that's where a lot of these things will stem from, right? Whether it's social media or something else. So I think that just be aware there are a lot of great publications that put out information every single day, whether it be pods, Krebs on security, whatever, right? Those are all things that you should take notice of. But understanding where the world is going and how we interact with each other and the challenges with that. That's another thing to be aware of. Again, it's not something that's going to be written down. It's something you're just going to observe, right? And that's something that you're going to take up. The last thing I'll say there is have fun with it, right? Don't look at it as something that's work. When you do research, whether say you do a CEH, Security Plus, or you guys look after formal degrees. It's something to just see what makes you tick. I can't stress that enough, because that's where you'll gain passion out of it, and that's where I found the most successful people pursue their dreams.
Awesome, thanks. Rosita, final words of.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Randy said. I think diligence and passion. Passion for me has been the main driver really over the years, liking what you do. And initially you may start with something that you realize it's not, like Randy said, realize that's not for you. So stay open, stay tuned, look for other opportunities. The world of technology is changing. One of the hardest things in my early days of the career was to explain what I do, with computers. There's not too many people who are aware of the computers and technology in general. I think that is changing, but we are constantly updating, and there is always something new. There's new trends, new things, new risks that, we need to be aware of. So yeah, just stay open, stay tuned, and be passionate for what you do.
Constant learning, right? That's
Yes,
good.
yes.
Awesome. Krishnan, I'll finish up with you here and your last words of advice for everyone.
Absolutely, Jim. I think, a lot of the panelists already have highlighted this. Just for me, it's curiosity to learn. Always keep looking at, just don't end to say, oh, I learned this and stuff, right? That's one thing. Second, have a lot of patience, and, and keep your focus on, right? Patience is like, we talked about a lot of the certifications. You think that, oh, I go and finish the certification, somebody's going to give me a job right there next day, right? That's not how it happens, right? So you need to have the certifications, you need to have the skill set, but then you start networking and have patience and keep looking, right? Keep hunting for jobs, and you will get the jobs, right? And then I have a good mentor, and I have a nice way to network with folks as well, right? You can reach out to all the panelists here as well. We'll be able to continue to have this dialogue with you and actually help each one of you, because we do need a lot of talents in cybersecurity. We are having a big shortage, right? So we wanted to get you there as well. And then finally, I'll say, in addition to the technical skills, right, art skills, which we call it, also focus on your soft skills, right? In the sense of conflict resolution, strategic thinking, a lot of the areas where you need to focus on. As humans, we may be grounded in a lot of the technology and everything else to be done, but the soft skills is actually what gets you a little bit further down in your career as well. As you're growing and going down that path, focus on your soft skills as much as you can.
Fantastic. Yep. And to just jump onto that, I talk to a lot of folks I have a lot of my children are in their 20s, and I'm talking to a lot of the folks that are in college and helping them a little bit, coach them around careers. And I tell them, get out and get interviews, right? Because the more you interview, the more you talk to people and you learn to, handle the questions, you'll just get better at that, right? So I would say for everyone out there, like you said, Krishnan, keep just plug away and get lots of interviews, get a lot of experience. You'll learn from those interviews, as well as, it'll just make you better. And then you're going to get that job, and then you'll go from there to the next one. So hopefully not that quickly, but you will move along. So I want to thank all of the panelists here. You folks have been wonderful, great advice, great information for the group. And I want to keep us somewhat close to our time here. We're about 10 minutes past, but I'm going to hand it back to our organizers of the hackathon. And again, thanks to everyone for joining us, and really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, and thanks to all the panelists,
Thank you, everyone.
James, Krishnan, Randy, Rosetta, and Michael. It has been a wonderful session, and thank you for your time to provide awareness, guidance, and advice, and actually real-life cybersecurity examples. I think that's going to be really wonderful. And welcome to our new cybersecurity engineer. We saw a little Randy there.
Sorry about that.
This is cute. It was cute to see a cute human. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, I would like to add, Meena, this is Lata. Hi. Thank you so much, everybody, for your Saturday morning. I don't know if everybody in the audience know that Saturday morning is very precious in the US. It's definitely, they have taken their time, they've taken the interest. And as Krishnan said, we all need you, right? We all need a lot more skills, lot more of you into the cybersecurity world now with everything that's going on. So this has been really, really helpful. I want to thank each and every one of you on the panel, and hopefully you have inspired something in everybody. So we will continue this conversation. There is a feedback form, so everybody can fill in the feedback form. You can still send in your questions through the feedback form. We will send it to the panelists, and if they are okay, we will share their email addresses with you. And thank you very much, Krishnan. If anybody is interested in joining the next gen cyber talent, where they can add more, a skill set to their resumes, we'll definitely have them join your organization too. Fantastic. Thank you all very much again.
Thank you.
Lata.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Everyone.
Bye.
Meena, over to you, Meena.
Okay, thanks. So next we're going to move to the segment 3, which is going to be speed training session. This segment is going to be led by Abi Saxena. Abi, you want to share your screen or?
Yes. Can you all hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Perfect, perfect. Let me try sharing my screen. Let me know if all of you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. And just before we start, I just wanted to let everybody know, we will share the link for the link here. This is going to be for the evaluation for.
Yeah, Meena, you can copy that link into the chat for everyone, please. They can actually start filling it even now.
Okay, good. So
And we will send them an email too. Yeah.
Okay, done. Thank you. So Abi, sorry, you can go ahead, take it on.
Thank you everybody for taking out time on your Saturdays. I know it's a long session and we just have 1 more hour to go. So we'll try to keep our energies high. This I think is the most important session when we talk about hackathons or competitions, right? Because this is where we'll help you form teams, and teams are and basically it's a team that will make you win this hackathon or help you proceed further in this hackathon, right? So it's got to be super fun. There are a few housekeeping rules for this session. First, I would like all of you to turn on your camera. This is going to be a very interactive activity where we would expect all of you to participate, and so that you can find the right members for your team. So it'll be great if all of you can just turn on your camera. Also, then please rename your name in the format where you say B, I, or A. B for beginner, I for intermediate, or A for advanced. And then you have your use a hyphen, have your country name, and then use a hyphen again, and then have your first name and last name. 2 examples are here. It's B, India, Abi Saxena. It talks about, it tells Abi Saxena is a beginner and he's from India, right? So it'll be great. It can take quick 2 minutes for all of you to rename yourselves and then also turn on your cameras.
So the reason is we would like all of you to classify yourself as beginner, intermediate, or advanced. The challenges are going to be given accordingly. Prizes will be awarded accordingly. So, so hopefully you can do your real skill that you think. Again, there is no test or anything. It's what you think about yourself in the cybersecurity world. So hopefully we can do some fair judging. So, but then both the prizes will also be according to the beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. So please go ahead. Is it intermediate or just advanced? Yeah, the 3 of them. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just quickly wait for the next 2 minutes so that all of you can turn on your camera and rename yourselves. Do I see somebody doing it? Let me just check. Oh, thank you for turning on your camera, Kriti. Hi Akib. Let's see. Oh, Ishi is here. I see Dave trying to turn on the camera. Kelvin is here. Syed is here. Suyesh is here. Okay.
So one thing is, this event is for people who don't have teams already. Like Abhi said, just to make it very clear, if you have your own team, then probably we will be sending a link in the chat. So you could put in your team name and all the team members' names and emails in that form. If you don't have a team yet, then you need to be in this call.
Perfect. And basically we need a team of 3 to 6 members, right? So if you have like a team of 2 and you need an extra person, I would recommend you to wait. But if you're more than 3 people, I think you feel free to drop. Anybody has any questions? In the meantime, we can answer that till people are just renaming themselves. So I still see a lot of people who haven't renamed themselves. Aradhna Sharma, Jaya Balaji, Athna George, Aryan Rai.
So, Ansh, you can start putting people in break rooms. Sure. As you see them renaming. Once you see somebody renamed, yeah, you could have 3-4 rooms for beginners, 3-4 rooms for intermediate, and 3-4 rooms for advanced. Okay. You could start. So yeah, so once you rename, you'll be put into groups.
Okay. Yes. And before you put,
before
we have few,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a few instructions, right? So I talked about the boring rules of turning on your camera and then renaming yourself, but the main rule is to have fun, right? And what we'll do in this activity is basically we'll group you into we'll send you into breakout rooms, a group of 7 to 8 people, and the idea is for all of you to talk, right? And you can talk about your name. You can start it. You can introduce yourself, right? You can talk. You can tell your name, the country, the college, fun fact about yourself, or anything that you would like to discuss, right? The breakout rooms will be open for 20-25 minutes, and it'll be best if you could make the best use of that time to identify people who you want to work with, right? And then it's very important to get their contact information, right? You can get their Discord tag, you can get their contact number, email address, so that after this meeting, you can go back and work with them for your hackathon, right? So that is the key part. Any questions on that? Any questions? Any doubts? Anything that you're not clear about? Okay, I'm also pinging the team formation form, right? So once you have your team, it's best if you can fill this form, right? So this form basically has questions about your team members, their name, their Discord tags, the countries of all the participants. So it's best whenever you form your team, you could just fill it in. Okay, okay, Arya, it'll be great if you could just start sending people to breakout rooms.
Okay. Yeah, I will open the rooms.
In the meantime, where I'm just sending you to breakout rooms, so I have participated in a lot of hackathons. I've won a few of them, and what I realize is the best teams are the diverse teams, right? When you have people from different backgrounds, different skills, not everybody has to be a cyber technology enthusiast or an expert. The best teams are where people bring the design skills, the storytelling skills, the technology skills, and all of it together, right? So don't be very picky. It's good to meet new people and have this diverse skill set come together to help you win the hackathon, right?
Great. Okay. I think, yeah, that's definitely very important to keep in mind. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the rooms. I'll split you guys apart by your country and as well as your intermediate level, and as you keep renaming, I'll keep adding all of you. Okay, great. Yes. I'll open the rooms now.
So we see a lot of people who haven't really joined or haven't renamed themselves. It'll be best if you could also start renaming yourself so that we can set you the right groups. Abhinaya R, Adnan, Khatib, Akash, Anand, Arpan, Dev, Devendra. if any of you already have teams, feel free to drop. The event is only to help you get teams, but if you don't, I would recommend all of you to rename yourselves so that we can set you the right groups, right? Vishal, ML, Vibin, Saurabh, Pragnan, Krishna, Harika, Devendra. Sorry, was it a question for me?
Looks like he was speaking in another language. It's okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the rest of them are AFK, but I've gone ahead and the other ones have joined and started.
So I'll wait in the lobby. And I know you have a headache. If you want to drop, feel free to drop.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
No, Ansh also can go to the different rooms and talk, please. Yeah, he's available now.
Yeah, I'll text you about that, Latanti. Give me a sec.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Can we assign them to rooms also?
Yeah, I've gone ahead and done that. And I'll
There
be
are a
just
few
making
people not joined. I think just assign them to a few of the beginner rooms. That's fine. And yeah, if they just have it on and not talking, then yeah, we'll have an issue. But actually, Abhi, I'll be in the main room, and you could go to the different rooms.
Perfect. Let me do that. Right.
Yeah, I'll be in the main room.
Where do you want me to go, Lata?
Yeah, you could just if you scroll the breakout rooms, you see. Do you see a join button, Meena?
Trying to find.
Like, do you see the middle breakout rooms? Like a you don't see it?
I see only the main room. I mean, this chat session.
1 minute. Are you a co-host? You should be a host, right?
I'm a co-host. Yeah.
You're a co-host, right?
Yeah. Not now anymore.
Okay. No, I can't. You are a co-host, it says. Okay, do you want to log out and log back in again? I'll try to make you co-host. Yeah, just log out and log back in again, Meena. I can't make you co-host. I don't know why. Did Meena, did you get in using the admin user ID and password?
No, I just.
Yeah, why don't you log in using, remember Melissa sent you the ID and password. Why don't you log out and log in using that?
Okay, I see a chat from Makiba from Zimbabwe. We need to assign.
I will add, yeah. I need a group, please, Frank Mekababe. Okay, I will look at it. Yeah, you go ahead and.
Hi, Ansh. Are you there?
Hi.
Hi. Radandi, can you add me in room number 4?
4. Okay. Did
Yes.
you come back out of the room?
Yes, and I came back out of room number 4. Actually, someone texted me on WhatsApp that they have a team and they
Okay, I
would
can't
like
see
me to
you.
join
I can't
in
see you.
room number 4.
Trying to get you. Where are you currently? Okay, there you go. You want to go
And
to
I'm
room?
in the meeting.
No, which room? Okay, I think I moved you.
Yes, Auntie.
Meena, are you there?
Yeah, I just logged in, not
Okay.
using
So-
admin.
Yeah.
That's not letting me. So I'm
Okay,
here.
can you go to the, can you see? Okay, you're there now. Okay, let me see if I can, you're under,
Yeah, I got the reclaim host.
okay, so you're there, right? So now do you see a breakout room?
Yeah, I see. I'm
Now
seeing
you
it.
can see the breakout room. So you
Yeah.
just have to go to one of the breakout rooms and have them talk if they're not talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Pragnan, you want to go to any room? Pragnan, are you there? Pragnan, you're there? Tirupati? You guys have to chat what you want to do. Tirupati and Pragnan. Hi, Abhi.
Hey, am I in the breakout room or in the lobby?
Sorry?
This is the lobby, right? This is the main lobby, right?
This is the lobby, main lobby. Yes, I'm in the main lobby.
Yeah, okay. Let me just try to go to a breakout room. I see that you have been assigned to breakout room number 2. How do I go to the breakout room number 3? I just went to the room 2.
So why are you getting assigned? You are the you're the co-host, right? Or no?
Yeah, I don't know. I think somebody just assigned me.
Okay, let
Okay.
me ask your SSF Abhi, right? The problem is.
No worries. Let me just join the group and come back.
Okay.
Okay, Lata, can you, I again see breakout room 2. Can you just try to remove, I don't know why, hello? Can some, do we know who's the host here?
Hello, Pragnan.
Hello.
Hi. Do you guys want any help? Yeah.
Lata, can you send me to breakout room 3? I apparently don't have any.
I think 3 is pretty much done. I just spoke with them. They are forming.
2 is also done. 2 is
yeah,
also
3
done.
is pretty much done. They are forming. We should have done four people.
Yeah.
Looks like too much, right? 2 is done, is it?
2 is done. 3 is done, you said.
So 2, they are doing all 6 of them together?
Yes, I think.
Should we? Is 6 a big number? What do you think? I don't know. Maybe we did say 2 to 6.
But okay. So let the list come out. Then we'll see if we can then talk to the 6-member teams and break them into smaller teams, because we'll also have people who are not part of any.
Okay. So 2 and 3 is good, is it?
Yes. Can you help me go to team 4? And can you send a broadcast message that we have like last 5 minutes left or something like, so that people can expedite if they haven't started talking yet.
10 more minutes.
Also, it'll be great if you could just make me the host at the end. I actually left and joined back. I couldn't. The system was only asking me to go to room 2, so I couldn't just go to it.
Yeah, 1 minute. You have 10 more minutes to inform your teams. Please finish the discussions. Come back to the main thing. Okay. So I think 2 and 3 is done. Shooting Source Foundation is the host now. Okay. So you want to go. You want to go to Meena. Can you see if you can make as Abhi co-host?
Okay.
In the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And Meena, what did you say? Who was looking for participants? Which group?
In group 6, there are 2. So I asked them to, chat more, introduce themselves and all. That was group 6. In group 2, there are 7 already. So now they're done. So I asked them to come back in the main room so that they can sign off from here and fill the form.
But they can't have 7 people, right? I don't know.
Yeah, 3. I think it was 6. Maybe 7th one was me.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's right. Abhi, do you have access to go now, or do you still?
I don't.
It's
I know
not
there is,
letting.
but option is not letting. Yeah, I'm not able
Yeah.
to make you co-host. Okay, so which group you want to go, Abhi?
4.
Room
4 or
4?
5. Yeah.
I had the same problem, Abhi. I had to log off and log back in again.
So anybody who's there in the main window?
Yeah,
you
there's
guys have any
one.
questions?
Lata, we have one unassigned participant.
Yeah, but they can talk. Nakul, are you there? Yeah, I mean.
Yes, I got disconnected and I.
Okay. Which room were you in before, Nakul? Which room number were you in before? We can't hear you, so can you chat?
I was in room number 7.
Okay, but room number 7, nobody is there. Okay, I'll assign you to room number 6. Okay.
Okay.
Start talking to them and you can join their group.
Okay, I'll join room number 3. Let's see what's going on.
3 is pretty done, Meena.
Okay.
And 4, Abhi is there. You want to go to, where is, oh, Abhi is in room 5. Okay. Maybe you could, I don't know about room 1. You want to go to room 1 and see what they're doing, Meena?
Sure.
Team 4 is all done. Let me go to team 5. Room 5 is done. They're a team of 3. You just send me to room 4, right?
Okay, I'll send you to room 4, right?
Yes.
Where are you? I don't see you. Wait. Komod, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, have you joined a team?
Yes, I have joined the team. I actually got disconnected after that.
Which room do you want to go?
Neither of them. We are done with the discussion. We have made the group as well. It was
Okay,
breakout room.
excellent, excellent. Okay, so you have the form. One of the leader could, one of you in the team can enter the form.
Okay. Because I have joined late, I do not have the access to the form. Can you resend it?
Okay, I'll do the broadcast message to everybody for the form.
Thank you.
Lata?
Yeah.
Okay. In the main room, I'm asking them to come to the main room. Maybe we should, guide them as to what is expected from them for this week so that they can prepare better for next Saturday.
Yeah, but I see only 14 of them in the entire Zoom. So people have left.
Oh, they left?
Which is fine. Which is fine. We will send them via, we'll send the summary via WhatsApp and email also.
Okay.
But I guess, yeah, they all formed I see only 14 participants in total.
Oh, they're coming in. Okay, Abhi's here too.
I think room 4 is also done. Maybe room 1, if you just send me again, and I'll quickly spend 1-2 minutes. Then we should.
Okay. Okay.
I told them the ideal team size is 4, but they can have 6 members.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
No one is responding in room number 6. Can you send me in another room?
Room
No,
6?
they're done. 6 is done.
6 is,
Okay.
nobody's responding. You were there. Were you there in 6?
Yes, you just added me.
Okay, because they're done and maybe they're gone. Okay. Okay, that's fine. If you're still not there, we will add you to some other group after the session, also through WhatsApp or through email, we will send you.
Okay.
Good morning. This is David.
Hi, David.
I just joined in.
Were you part of a team?
I am not.
So David, and who is the other person who just spoke?
Nakul.
Nakul. Okay, Nakul and David. Why don't you both form a team? I'm going to send you to room 7, Nakul and David. Just start your conversation and I'll add one more person later. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Nakul and David, I'm going to send you both to room 7. I can't see Nakul. Where is Nakul?
Nakul,
are you there?
I can see
Yes.
him.
Can you make him move to room 7 then?
We can get the room 1 people back. I think they have also formed their team. So room 1
These
is
are all
done.
6 people, is it?
It's 6 people.
We forgot. We should have made them only 4 people or something, right?
But why is 6 7? Do you want to have more teams, or so that it's better price distribution or things like that?
Right. We'll talk later. Yeah. Yeah, because I think the number of people now are less, right? I mean, IBM had like 100 plus. Now if there are only 50 plus and we have 6 people team, there's only 5 or 6 teams, right?
Got it. So okay, so let's think what we need to do with it.
Later.
Maybe we'll have extra members, right? And then we can ask them to split the teams.
Don't know yet. Let's see. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. We didn't envision. Meena, you sent Nakul to room 7?
It's not letting me do anything.
I don't know what is happening. I don't see Nakul at all.
I see him, but I'm not able to move him.
Nakul, can you log out and come back again?
So it's India Nakul.
Okay.
Can you see it?
I can see it. India Nakul.
But you can't send him, right? You don't have that access.
I can.
I don't know. Something has changed. I mean, it's.
If you could just raise your hand, Nakul, that'll be great, right?
Okay, I think I see him in room 6. I'm going to send him to room 7.
He is now in room 7.
Yeah, I just sent him. Okay, good. These guys have to stay joined. Yeah, hopefully they're joined. Okay. Okay, team, if you have formed the team, that's good. Depending on the number of teams, we may, if you're a 6 people team, we may make you 2, 3 people teams, not sure yet. But as of now, depending on the number of teams that is forming, but as of now, hold on to your teams and we'll send you further information in email and the WhatsApp group. Okay. So Abhi and Meena is pretty much, I think we're done with all the rooms, right? Maybe except room 7, they just started, but other than that, all rooms are pretty much done.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll
just send me to room 7. I'll quickly help them to form a team.
Yeah. If you can, I'll send you to room 7 and then we should close it out.
Others, maybe you can just bring them back to the group. So I see everybody is coming back. Anyone who was not able to form a team, could you just let us know?
Dang.
Hey, was somebody saying something?
I muted. And there's a lot of background noise, so I muted. Okay, Abhi, you can close it out. I think everybody's back.
Okay, I hope everybody, all of you were able to form your teams. If not, keep interacting over the Discord chat so that you can find your team members. There might, some of you might have team members of 6. We might reach out to you to have like a smaller team, maybe teams of 3. We'll see what happens, but for now, all the best. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the team or to me, and we'll be able to help you with it.
So my name is Lata. You saw Abhi, he's our SSF organizer. You saw Meena, we 3 will also be in the WhatsApp group. So if you haven't joined the WhatsApp group, please do join, and we will also send periodic emails. Would really ask you to keep up with whatever communication is happening this week. We have a lot of fun and exciting things coming up for next week. We have a lot of mentors that can help you during the 24-hour hackathon. I hope you enjoyed the panel session and the coaching. We will be sending you, you would have gotten the thing by chat. The feedback form, definitely fill in the feedback form. We have some raffle prizes for filling in the form. And then you have the team form. We will send you some information on how to start learning this week. Allocate about 3-4 hours a day to learn, this week. And as you all know, the winners will be interviewed for internships and placements. So keep that in mind. Abhi, you have, as you said, you have undergone a lot of hackathons and won a lot of hackathons with a lot of prize monies too. And you're working in Accenture, right? Working in Accenture?
Yeah, Accenture, yes.
Accenture right now. We want to give a final quick, feedback to the people, advice and what they can do the next week.
Yes, so my advice would be to not go to not only go heavy on tech, also think of a story, also think of a solution that you want to build, or think of the problem statement, right? It might need good presentation skills, good storytelling skills, right? So also think of that while submitting a solution. I think that would be my recommendation.
Okay, Abhi will be on the WhatsApp group as well as probably on Discord. While we may not be like immediately responding to everything, at least once a day for sure, we will summarize and respond to all your questions.
Absolutely, you can find me on the WhatsApp group. Yes.
And very quickly, I know I saw some question on the hackathon. So because this, in a regular hackathon, it's usually a problem statement and you need to create a solution and prototype and present it. In this may be a little bit different because of cybersecurity. We're still figuring out the format, but some of you may be given a challenge to go to the next step after finding, like a cybersecurity war game. Some of you may be given a project to do a technical. So depending on, what you know and all that. So hopefully the theme, we will announce theme and the challenge we will announce on Friday next week. So you probably have a day to think about it and then start the actual project / games on Saturday when the actual hackathon is. But we'll send you more information as the week goes.
I just have a quick question regarding the team formation form. Like everybody has to fill it, only one person has to fill it with the names?
Only one person has to fill it with the names. There should be some information on the top that says, or I will update the form. Only one person needs to fill in with all the team member names and probably emails. I want to check what they're asking for. Yeah.
So they're asking for Discord tags. We have the Discord.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. I just also wanted to ask a question, like how many members are okay? Like we are 6, is it fine?
Ideally, it should be 3 to 4, but
it's okay. Hold on to it. By Tuesday, we will be forming, we will know how many teams are there and all that. If there are very less teams, then we may have to split up into 3 + 3. Ideal is 3 to 4. Okay, we may split up the 6 into
Okay,
3
sure.
plus 3, but if we have more teams, then we'll let it be. Okay, we'll give us time till
By the
Tuesday
way,
to decide that.
I have a query. Like, should a team like everyone should be a beginner, or some can be intermediate and advanced?
You can. I mean, you can be a mixer. That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So good luck, everybody. Hoping to see you next week. And if there are any questions, you can ask on Discord channel, WhatsApp channel, and also via email. Thank you so much, Abhi. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
And thanks,
Thank you, Lata.
Meena.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
Meena.
you.
Bye.